CIGTV, a special news brief. I'm Donna Bush. The Cayman Islands is just days away from stopping all inbound flights into the Cayman Islands, and outbound passenger air traffic will cease tonight, Thursday night at 11:59. Also from 11:59 on a Sunday night coming, all salons, spas, barbershops and bars will be closed for a period of 2 weeks. Now, throughout the week, residents have been asking many questions. One of those relates to the possibility of increasing crime because jobs have been temporarily lost. Well, we spoke to the Police Commissioner Derek Byrne about this today.
So as we're working now, I think that the message is reassurance, one of public confidence, and it's to say that everything is stable. We're operating in a very calm and controlled policing environment at the moment. And I do think that much of this is about the early messaging, very decisive and informative messaging that came from government early on in the crisis. So that has created this calm environment, no noticeable increase in crime under any crime heading or any crime classification. So for our part then, to maintain the community confidence and the high visibility, then we have been putting out extra patrols over the past week and a half, and they will be stepped up more. And it's about, not that we're responding to anything in particular, it's about just creating that positive environment for people that they feel safe going about their business. So there's a lot of work going on in the supermarkets and a lot of cash, and we're very cognizant of that. So a lot of our resources have been redeployed to high visibility mobile patrolling, and we're asking to call in to see the security officers at the supermarkets, security officers at the banks. We're working with the airport authority then, moving around to be seen, to be visible on the streets. Feedback is quite positive. We're getting a lot of feedback that they do see police out day and night, and obviously quite pleased with that. So we now have to start looking at our own staff and their well-being and their health, and that's foremost in our planning. So we are exercising rigorously the sanitisation protocols issued by Dr. Lee and his team in HSA, which have been hugely helpful. There's a lot of visual aids there and a lot of protocols to follow. We have all our products in place for sanitising the workplace, which obviously includes our vehicles, which have very high touch points with handles and gear levers and steering wheels. So strict protocols around that to preserve our workforce and keep them healthy. And now we're looking at resilience, short and medium term. How are we going to get over the next few weeks? Because people have been working long hours. And we will move to a new roster agreed with our representative associations, for which I'm very grateful. It was done very quickly in quite a consultative way, but with great collaboration, to say that our officers will now work in two teams. We refer to them as Alpha, Bravo, Red, Green, 12-hour shifts opposite each other. This minimises the risk of cross-contamination, creates sterile work environments for the officers, and they will work, as I said, 12-hour tour, 4-day on, 4-day off, and that creates a lot of benefits, I think, for the officers themselves. They get more rest time to recover, and they're also with their families for longer periods. So while they're working longer hours, when they're off for longer periods. And we think that's going to work out pretty good into the future. So quite pleased with that. As I said, no spike in crime, but we have our management meetings every morning, early every morning. We have Gold and Silver Command then working around the clock to make sure that we have proper supervision in place, that if any trend is identified or any particular incident occurs, we're all on standby and ready to come in to augment resources. Our CID personnel, as you know, that's a large portfolio right across the detective departments, and they now have their uniforms ready for deployment to augment shift if that becomes an issue. At the moment, they're obviously operating in their environments, but if we need to bring them on board, they're ready to go. We are having some preliminary discussions with private security to see how we can work with those if we become stretched or move into an extended period. I don't see that just at the moment, but however, we're for business continuity and contingency planning. For our civilian support personnel, then we have introduced remote, as it is right across civil service, remote working provisions. And I suppose I can say, and I'm very pleased to say, that the Sister Islands is operating at full capacity. No crimes reported in the Sister Islands, and we're operating at full strength at the moment. And we're really hoping that we can maintain that using the sanitation protocols that are in place. For the Grand Cayman itself, I have lost a small number of officers to the self-isolating protocols, and I may lose another 3 or 4 next week. This has been declared because of students coming home to reunite with families, and that's anticipated. That still leaves us operating within normal operating parameters, so no huge reduction there. I've only 3 persons on long-term sick leave that had nothing to do with COVID. So quite confident we've all our resources in place to deal with any contingency as it is at the moment. The importance for us is to be reviewing on a daily basis, reviewing our plans. It's quite dynamic, so we use a dynamic risk assessment. We are represented at NEOC daily, obviously discussing right across government with the Deputy Governor Mandison and his team what's going on to make sure that we're there in the centre and playing our part, working with our partner agencies in the prison, CBC, fire service, to make sure we're all available to each other. I think someone mentioned the issue about communications earlier on. We're operating at full capacity at the moment. Mobile networks are working good, email is working very well, and our Motorola radio system is operating without any glitch whatsoever. So we feel that we're in a good place at the minute. Obviously the challenge is to maintain that position for the short to medium term till we see where we're going. And my sense is we're doing well. The community are largely compliant with working with the police. There's quite a good atmosphere out there. I'm picking up from the officers themselves. They're touching base with a lot of people in the community, and that's what we need. We're working together to achieve a kind of a shared objective to get us through this crisis, then return to what we hope is a normal operating environment. Tourism resumes, finance resumes, everyone's back to normal, and the island is buzzing as it was before the crisis hit us.
And we invite you to join us for Friday's press briefing with government leaders. We invite you to watch today's press briefing immediately following this special news brief. Have a great night, everyone.